Hey there, welcome to ATL and 29, a podcast that looks at the NBA from the starting point of Atlanta. My name is Kevin Chouinard. I'm here with Glenn Willis and Tyler Jones after the Atlanta Hawks defeated the Milwaukee Bucks. This was the rare 9:30, 9:45 Eastern time tip for a game between two Eastern Conference teams. With a couple of days off, I thought, well, we can just record Thursday, Friday, get the podcast done later in the week. It's so late. But like half an hour ago, I started getting these texts. Dyson Daniels is playing great. I want a podcast tonight. Okay, Tyler, why did you want a podcast tonight?
Well, I mean, I just from an overall team's perspective, considering like the stakes, because the last time we talked on the pod, I don't think we thought Giannis was going to play tonight, and then like immediately a day later, Giannis is playing on Monday, and so like Wednesday became like a de facto playoff game because the Bucks pretty much needed to win this game to salvage their season to really have a realistic shot at the play-in. And like for how like poorly the Hawks started the game. And I don't think they played poorly, but the game flow was clearly going against them. Offensively, they were struggling to generate quality shots. And then defensively, like Giannis was doing a great job of collapsing the paint and kicking out the shooters, and they were making every shot they took. And so I just thought, all right, they unless they change something up here, they're going to just lose this game because like the flow of the game was just going against them. And then like Quinn just puts Dyson on Giannis, and the game ended. Like basically from that point on, the Bucks really couldn't do anything to generate consistently quality looks on offense. And then on the other end, the Hawks, I think Dyson in particular did a really good job of uh, not settling for like layups and floaters, like not settling for shots that he should finish, but instead looking to create for his teammates. It was a lot of great off-ball movement from Nikhil, CJ McCollum, Ricochet, and even Kispert as well. Like off-ball moving into open spots, and Dyson and Jalen were finding those guys. And I think just overall, like the execution level, like that's not like consistent execution. That's what Glenn's been talking about for the last couple of pods. And I felt like tonight was like the game where okay, the like game flow went against them, but they kept executing. They made some adjustments, and then they figured it out at the end. But like just beyond all that, like Dyson Daniels just, I mean, that was unreal what he did. To be honest, like I'm annoyed how he's talked about nationally right now. Like people think he's taking a step back when, like to me, he's clearly a better basketball player, particularly on offense. Even though his 3-point shot just completely abandoned him. Like outside of that, he's improved in so many areas that you know it's I'm going to bring this up. It's why they traded Trey Young. Like they felt comfortable with Dyson Daniels running the show for the majority of the time, next to Jalen, of course. But like those two guys, I think have I really do. I really feel the Hawks have turned the corner on both ends, and they're going to go on a little run here.
What did you think of this game, Glenn?
I mean, I put on Twitter and Blue Sky, like the defensive organization was like DEFCON 1 level in the first quarter. They just were not organized at all. But they figured it out. And from the second quarter got better, like incrementally better. In the second half, they had it all figured out, right? And to Tyler's point, once they put Dyson on Giannis, and if Hawks fans aren't watching like other teams play, if you watch the Rockets play, other teams will put a small/power forward on Şengün and let just get into him and get lower into his body and not let him move his feet. That's what innovative coaches are doing more and more and more is leaning into that stuff, and it's really interesting to see that trend. And Şengün will turn his back and try to back the smaller guy down, and it'll take forever, and they're bleeding the shot clock and all that sort of stuff. So I think Quinn is snapping to adjustments faster now with this roster than he could before because he has more solutions. He can swing this way, he can swing that way, or whatever it was. I thought I want to say too. I thought Kispert was, I mean, masterful tonight, creating
Yeah,
space and gravity. That was great. I know that he's not always our favorite defensive player, but I thought offensively he really was kind of creating space for others to be able to attack seams. When he was on the floor, they got to the rim more consistently, etc. So I was just kind of proud to see them pivot towards solutions tonight more quickly and more strategically than we've seen prior, before the trade deadline. In the second half, they were just dominant start to finish. And once Giannis came back in, you're like, okay, how's this going to go? But like the last time he was on the floor, Dyson was into him, and he couldn't really do anything. And so to Tyler's point, I think that pivot to having Dyson guard him was great. And you can see how frustrated Giannis was. He got a technical foul towards the end of the game, etc. But again, a team that just keeps working, looking for the solution, looking for the adjustment. You seeing, I think you're seeing Quinn snap to adjustments faster now because he has more solutions on his roster right now than he had before. That's what I think we're seeing.
And like, Onyeka usually does a really good job on Giannis. And I think the Bucks recognize that and they countered because I do think like in that first quarter in particular, like they were spacing really well, like off ball. And like the other four guys were not covering for Onyeka. Or,
Exactly.
the way you have to when you're guarding Giannis. They would just leave Onyeka on a complete island. And like it was just getting them burnt in too many different ways where it's like, oh, we're on the back foot. Dyson, they knew at a certain point they had to come with the quick double. But they could reliably rely on Dyson to execute the defensive scheme until he got to a certain point below the foul line, basically. And so like I just think that like Glenn said, like they got smarter and executing on the defensive end. And then on offensively, like Kisper and even Ricochet too. Like, man, I really am liking what I'm seeing from Ricochet in these bench units. I think a big thing that's happened is he has a clear defined role on offense now. And like defensively, he has more responsibility. Like he's being tasked with guarding at the point of attack. I know Cam Thomas ended up burning him, to end at his stint, but I thought overall defensively he was pretty good, uh, throughout the game. So like I think this team makes more sense, and it sucks that Kuminga didn't play, but it's good to see that Mogay was ready to, Mogay, have somebody like that to come off not playing the last couple games to be ready to go and execute the way he did, offensively in particular. Like I just think, this team is starting to make a lot more sense, man. Like they went through a long stretch where, they weren't even they had no solutions. I want to give Quinn some credit. It's not like he wasn't trying. I thought he wasn't. Still thought like he could have done some little bit more stuff to like mitigate the major issues. But since the Hawks got Landale, really, honestly, if we're being honest, since they got Landale and then Kuminga came back, like I think everything is starting to fit into place here for them.
There's just more roster balance positionally than
Yeah,
before the trade deadline, significantly more.
Yeah, I thought that obviously moving Dyson was a big move, putting him on Giannis, because what they were trying to do to start the game to sort of leverage Dyson's defensive ability is they had Onyeka on Giannis. They would have like Jalen and Dyson on the weak side, with Dyson essentially, trying to guard two. Like he was down low to touch in the post on the guy that was Jalen was ostensibly guarding, but also Dyson was getting ready to rotate to the person that was out beyond the 3-point line. And then Jalen was in a help position, and like it just wasn't working. Like Jalen wasn't helping. I don't know if
yeah,
it's like he's not right physically, what? Like stuff happens. Like he hasn't been super dynamic since he came back from the hip issue that kept him out of a couple games. With any luck, maybe the Hawks can get him some further rest before the games start coming rapid fire. Like there's a game against the Nets. Like maybe you don't need Jalen for that game. I don't know, but like Jalen just wasn't giving them good enough help defense in the first half, and so even though you're sort of trying to use Dyson to kind of fill gaps on the weak side so that Jalen can help, like if Jalen doesn't help, there's no point to that, and so you know what, just to echo what Glenn was saying, like when you have that smaller, faster guy on Giannis, if he's equally strong as Dyson is, he's just redirecting him before Giannis gets anything downhill. Like against Onyeka, he was, using a dribble to get some momentum, get some speed up, so that by the time he got to Onyeka's body, he was just trying to bulldoze through the contact. Whereas Dyson is just up into him, not letting him dribble. And, that first dribble is going sideways. It's not going north south. And if you do
Hmm.
that against Giannis, you can win, but you have to have a very special defender not to get blown by when you're up that high. And obviously Dyson is very much that.
Yeah, Dyson just starts digging on you right away. He's just digging for the ball and digging for the ball and digging for the ball, not wanting to let you have a comfortable first dribble. And yet, and you can see the technique that Nyek is playing is to give a step and a half, be ready to kind of, take a step right, take a step left, or whatever. But Giannis just has so much length. He got. They were letting him hook a little bit tonight. It was kind of, I don't know. I'll say it was a half hook. Was it a foul? It's like, I guess we can argue about that, but doesn't matter now. Um, but Dyson just got right into his body, like on every single possession, and
And
was
even
digging for
before
the
like,
ball.
oh, sorry, I thought you were
Yeah,
done. My bad.
you're good. Go, go.
Stepping all over you. But like even before the Hawks did the thing where they switched Dyson onto Giannis, like when Onyeka and Jalen went to the bench and they hadn't had a successful first quarter at all, like Kispert, McCollum, Mo Gay, Zachary Sachet, like that unit came in and played defense. So, and obviously they were playing against a different Milwaukee lineup, but like the defense got better right then and there. And it kind of carried through a little bit. Jalen got going offensively in the second quarter. And then I think, defensively, got a little bit going the last couple of minutes, started to look a little bit more into it. And then, yeah, just the second half it was just the Hawks. Like they did what they had to do.
Yeah, yeah. When that second unit came in, Giannis was off. That's the asterisk. That's their right.
Yep.
But they were like, we're playing defense. We are
Yep.
absolutely playing defense. And then the starters were like, okay, well, we have to maintain when we go back in, we have to maintain that level of effort and execution and communication and connectivity, etc. And then that sometimes that's how it has to go, is to watch a group go out there and just really commit to it. And I thought that that was when the game totally pivoted back towards the Hawks, was when the second unit went out there and just committed to playing defense in every possession.
Yeah.
I do. I wonder because Gabe Vincent, he only played 5 minutes, and it was only in the first half. It's not like he was good or bad or anything, but I do feel like he's brought additional leadership, particularly on the defensive end, just because of like he's a great communicator and like he's just a pro, and so like I really do think he's kind of like managing like these lineups, which are usually he's surrounded by like Kispert and Landell in particular. Like I think he's doing a pretty good job of like getting like just like being the adult in the room on the defensive side of the floor to kind of patch things through. And like again, it's just another point of attack defender that Quinn could utilize. And like with Shea now getting more point of attack defensive reps, hopefully he can get to that level because he like Shea made some plays. Like I thought a big part of the comeback in that first half was Shea just digging into balls, causing havoc on the defensive end, and then offensively, he's spotting up in the corners and credit to credit to CJ in particular. Like I thought he did a pretty good job of passing the ball tonight. Like he, just getting into the paint and then looking for shooters. Like I think, but hopefully that can continue for like a lot of these guys in this team because too often they'll get into hero mode and not just make the easy simple play. And like I thought tonight, like the passing was as good as it's been all year for like pretty much everybody.
I mean, Dyson had, I think, three just ridiculous passes tonight, like just absurd passes tonight that was, totally blindside pass. The guy's open in the corner. I'm spinning, pirouetting, whatever we would say. But for Gabe tonight, and I'm a big fan of Gabe Vincent, but the Bucks played big lineups the whole like
Yeah.
big lineups
Yes.
the whole night, and so I think Quinn pivoting towards more size is it helped them
Yeah.
in that sense. And like Gabe is like five times better defender than Corey Kispert, but Corey did a ton of constructive stuff on offense, and Quinn threw enough defense around him when he was on the floor that I felt like they navigated that. But and that's why like Gabe Vincent's a total pro. He's not going to go back in the locker room and like whine that he only played 5 minutes or whatever. He and for me, it's like if I'm always interested in watching the bench. Like Buddy is cheering his team on the whole game, like the whole game, even though he's not playing at all right now. And that's the stuff that you're looking for. And Kaminga too was, activated and kind of just cheering his team on. And that's the stuff that you look for from guys that, okay, yeah, I'm not playing tonight, or coach decided this isn't the right game for me to play a ton of minutes, and they're just encouraging their teammates, rooting for their teammates. That's the stuff that makes everyone kind of feel good about the team context that they're in.
Yeah, I mean, it like I feel like Kispert made a couple extra passes, and like that's the difference. Like, particularly on the offensive end, it makes his life a little easier. Where because he is a good downhill driver when he has momentum going up against a smaller defender. Like he's very good at deceleration and all that good stuff. But too often before, like he was just maybe pressing too much as a shooter because he wasn't making shots.
He
And
didn't
so
make
like
shots
now,
tonight. I mean, he made one of 5 threes, but he
yeah,
was terrific.
but it felt better because like he was
Yeah,
more of playing more in the rhythm of what the Hawks want to do
Yeah,
offensively.
yeah.
yeah.
So then at the point like, oh, he's missing shots, it doesn't matter as much. Whereas before it was like, okay, if he's not making shots, he's making all like he's constantly making the wrong read when he has the ball in his hands too often. And like tonight, like I mean, really, for the last couple games, like he's just been better in his role. I think a lot of these guys have been better in their role, partly because uh uh like Dyson's playing better. Like Dyson's like point guard, skills. Like I think is really helping a lot of guys get more organized, get where they need to go, and maybe they're feeling a little bit more comfortable. They're collectively as a team. This team is just playing way better during this winning streak than they have pretty much since November. Since they have Porzingis, this is the best the Hawks have played. I understand the schedule hasn't been that impactful, but like uh,
But
you
but
can
but
take
yeah.
you can take the opponent out of it. Like this is the execution level has been more consistent. The effort level has been there consistently. Like it's just way better uh, basketball than what they've been playing for the majority of the season.
Yeah, and there, I mean, the nice thing is a sort of a soft schedule coming out of the All-Star break, and new players acclimating and like tonight, like Kispert, there was like 4 drives he occupied Jericho's ends at the rim, and had 2 defenders. A couple times he had 3 defenders down on him, and just took his time and ready the right kick out pass. Mo made both of his corner threes tonight. Like those 6 points mattered, in this game. But his patience and his ability to realize, like, okay, this is what this offense needs of me is to break the paint, stop, take my time, occupy 2 defenders, in some cases 3 defenders, then make that right kick out pass, and not need for me to be, looking for my own 3-point shot. I mean, that's what Quentin wants. He wants that .5 decision making, and game by game by game, we're seeing Kispert snap to that a little better each game, in my opinion. And I think that's great.
He had a he had a play where he like rotated from the weak side corner to help at the rim, which has notoriously been something that I think that he has not been good at. And it was great. He was like on time. The shooter took like some cruddy floater that missed, and it was like if like if he's succeeding at the thing that he might be worst at, that's a really good sign.
And that's the thing is like you got Onyeka, Jock, Asa when he plays, Mo, like they can get to the front of the rim, and that's good enough. You get down to a small forward, they got to get 2 steps above the front of the rim. They have to get higher and tag earlier, and that's the tech. There's so much nuance in low man depending upon how much size you have. And he's pushing higher. He's coming earlier. He's pushing higher. He's still limited defensively, but he like you can tell he's being coached into you got to go earlier. You got to get higher. You got to help. You got to be more physical. And you're seeing him snap into that more and more and more each game. And I think that's credit to the coaching staff for helping him understand like Yeah, if you're at the rim, you got nothing. You got nothing, Corey. If we get you two steps out above the rim, now we're tagging earlier, and that helps. And you see him doing that.
Yeah. What do you make of Jock Landale's season since he's been here? Whoever wants to take this.
Well, I mean,
I
like
mean,
tonight, they had Nyeka up at the 3-point line, Jock up at the 3-point line. Jock will play in the Ducker spot a little more than Nyeka will, in the corner a little more than Nyeka will, and those things. But they got Jericho Sims like away from the paint, by centering Jock and Nyeka middle 3-point line. And so, I mean, and that matters. Jericho's a ridiculous athlete. He's just an absurd athlete. But having both of your centers able to shoot and pull that center away and create an opportunity to attack the rim from there is is very important. And the Bucks are going to have a solution for that. I thought it was weird in the fourth quarter that Portis was like, doctors didn't want to play Portis because Portis was good tonight for them. They went so yeah, but yeah, having two centers that can pass, DHO, make an open shot, etc., pulling that other center out, I think is good, and helpful. That's one reason Dyson got so many offensive rebounds, etc.
I felt like the reason why Portis didn't play was that the Bucks needed more ball handling because at a certain point, Doc was like, "All right, if Dyson's going to guard Giannis, it's too easy for everybody else to help off of like Portis or Kuzma uh, or the center. Like it's too easy to help. Like if Portis is playing alongside another center, it's just way too easy for the Hawks to help off of that their man and recover. And so like he tried to counter with AJ Green, and the thing is, with AJ Green was, this is the theory of the case with the Hawks. You put a bad defender on the floor, you know, they're going, and a bad small defender in particular. Like the Hawks are going to punish him. Like, and the Hawks just because the Bucks were like, all right, we got to switch to do something, and the Hawks were just all right. Onyeka rolled to the rim, finish over a smaller player. Jalen finished over a smaller player. He did that pretty much the entire game. And then also like CJ McCollum being guarded by bad perimeter defenders, like CJ's ability to create offense for himself without a screen is massive. It is absolutely massive that he's able to simply beat bad defenders consistently off the dribble without needing of a screen, without needing to run any type of DHO action to get him going. If he has a bad defender on him, he'll just ISO and get to his spots. He did that basically. I think the shot that iced the game was the floater over Kuzma, where he just easily got to his spot and was comfortable taking a fairly difficult shot for most people, but that's kind of what CJ McCollum's value is. And like I think this is a good context for CJ as a basketball. I feel like this is one of the best contexts CJ's ever been in for his career because they don't necessarily need him on a game to game basis like he used to be. Like he used to be like either the best or the second best player. Now he's more of the auxiliary role player, but he's in there to score points, and like he's done like a fantastic job of taking pressure off of Jalen and Dyson as an offensive, because sometimes like if the offense is getting a little rickety, they just go to him and run basic actions to get in a better flow. So like I just think this is a great context for CJ, and again I'm excited for what this team could do. Like there's still 19 or so odd games left in the season. This is the softest part of the schedule coming up. They're going to rack off a bunch of wins now coming up, and like I want to see what they look like in the playoffs, and hopefully they're able to maintain this momentum and stay relatively healthy, even though it was unfortunate that Kuminga didn't play tonight.
How I'm just thinking about like sort of the Dyson, Jalen, CJ McCollum dynamic. Like, how many times has McCollum played with a pass first kind of point guard?
Well, I mean, that's not what Dame ever was.
No, exactly. That's my point. Like if you look at McCollum's career, like
And I love watching Dame play. He's entertaining to watch
sure,
for sure. First ballot Hall of Famer automatically, right? But like this team, it's kind of funny. There was I don't remember which game it was, 4 or 5 games ago. Tyler was like they lost the game, and Tyler was like in our text they were selfish, they deserved to lose,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that was the characteristic that we saw for the whole game. And I think Tyler nailed it. I think they're swinging back towards like Dyson just being selfless. I mean CJ's ability to like move his defender like away from him and create space to create a shot is at age. I think he's 34. I have to look that up, but somewhere in that range. He's 20 years younger than me, I think.
He's
So
my age.
is is impressive. I mean, it really, really is impressive. And while Jalen is dealing with the hip thing, I have no idea if that's gone or 20% still there. We don't know. But to take that workload off of him is helpful. CJ's not going to be back on a $20 million contract on any team in the league next. That's not where he is anymore. But he's constructive and he's helpful and so
He's been too
it takes the workload
defensively.
off of Jalen that's helpful while as Jalen is still learning how to run an offense. That having that veteran next to Jalen in the starting lineup, I think helps. Is that the plan for next year? Don't know. We'll have to see what the roster looks like or in that sense.
And I want to actually elaborate a little bit more about this is the best context because, like, if you think about it, CJ has often played on teams outside of the Pelicans. Maybe the Pelicans were equally good in context when they were healthy. They just struggled with health so often that the roster kind of got out of whack multiple times. But like, if you think about it, in particular in those Portland teams, they were often like offensive heavy. It's really just Dame and CJ running the show. Here, everybody on the court can run some action. Like Dyson can run something, Jalen can run something, Nikhil can run something, Onyeka can run something. And so, like, the pressure for CJ to create for the team isn't there. Instead, it's more we need you to play finish to attack these closeouts. Glenn, you've been pretty consistent about CJ, because for a couple years now about how helpful he'd be for like the context of how the Hawks want to play. And I think he's kind of been a perfect fit for what they want to do on offense. And like it also helps that physically, even though he's not a good defender, he is big and he's playing in lineups where he's not like where you can hide him, easier. And it helps that he's big and he has a long wingspan that it's just easier to hide him. Like it's just flat out. And he's also executing a lot better defensively, even considering what he
yes.
was when he first got here in Atlanta. Like I I
Yeah.
I guess what? Practice matters, and the Hawks have gotten a lot of practice in.
Yeah, Kevin, I want to ask you, like, because you're in arena, like I'm in Seattle, like, in the Seattle area. When CJ gets in trouble, he seems to turn around and ask for help. Like, oh, I have a big dude. Like, we got switched wrong, or I'm low man. I don't think I should be low man. And I mean, he does dig on the ball. He digs on the ball when the ball is like below the when the offensive player has a ball, say below chest level, he digs and tries to rip that out. But at the same time, I see him all the time being like, "Get me out of here! I cannot help at the rim. I cannot rebound." And I think he's snapping into that more and more. And the Hawks have more solutions in that area. But you watch this stuff live, so I want you to say, Glenn, I see that, or I don't see that, or I see some of that sometimes. I want you to tell me what you're seeing from CJ on defense that's maybe different from what we see on TV because I only see on TV what they show me on TV.
Yeah. Speaking of that, like I don't know, some of these broadcasts they just miss too many plays. I don't know what's going. But yeah, he's definitely sought help when he needs it. Like he knows how to get himself out of trouble, to use his big and make sure that he's in the right spot and that the big can can get in the help position instead of him. So that helps. And I think it just helps that, these lineups that he's in, especially when he's playing with the starters, they're good enough on offense that the opponents have to use some players that CJ is capable of guarding. Like it's hard to come up with, five defenders that are all great at offense at the same time. Like if you want to stop Jalen Johnson and CJ McCollum and you've got Onyeka hitting threes, like, Dyson breaking the paint and the ball movement is great. Like the Hawks are going to continue to lead the league in assists probably from here to the end of the season if they keep being the team that they are right now. Like that just stresses defenses so that the opposing coach just, can't be playing, uh, five great offensive players because, they'll just get sliced up defensively. So there's somebody usually out there that CJ can guard.
I love that when he says, I'm in trouble. Get me out of this bad spot I'm in. Rotate me out, get me up the floor so I'm not low man. That that intelligence is impressive to me.
Yeah, I mean he's certainly adjusted. Like it looks completely different than it did when he first got here, just on a whole number of levels. Like he's processing everything differently. That the coaching staff and CJ have worked to make it look very, very smooth.
Agree?
What else? Did we leave anything out?
Who do they play next? I haven't even looked that up
Yeah,
yet.
I think it's Dallas and then Brooklyn are the next two games.
Okay, okay.
And then
Those
after that, it's going to be like 12 games in 19 days. Like it's going to be like a brutal pace after these three or four very leisurely games where you've got 2 days off between every game.
Yeah, so the thought process there for Hawks fans is how many of those games does Kuminga play? Because he's got that bone bruise still, right? That's a thing. Can they pick the right games for Kuminga to play? In that sense, how's Jalen's hip abductor doing? I think that's a thing. But they have just more depth right now than they had before the trade deadline. They just do, and if they in those games, if they go, I don't know, 7-5, 8 and whatever, try to push upwards into the standings, I think they just need to be smart and realizing how to navigate that schedule and being like, okay, this game's hard. We need everybody. This game's not as hard. Hopefully, we can choose who might not need to play in this game. In that sense. And I don't know if people who watch the Hawks only watch the Hawks realize that's where the whole league is the last 15 games. It's like, oh my God, everybody's tired, everybody has a half injury, all that sort of stuff, and and to just be okay with that. So, but the Hawks are needing a push. They need to push upwards through. They need to win games and push upward through the standings as they can, but they also have to, I think, be strategic about who plays when and which against which opponent. That's a I mean, everybody hates the term load management, but that is a real thing. So
How bad is it going to get with this Pelicans slash Bucks seeding for the Hawks ping pong odds?
any to me, like anyone who's stressing about the ping pong balls that literally no one has any control over, just let it go. Just let it go. That's my feeling. I'm not attached to the outcome at all. This is a deep draft class, so they get two, three, four, five, six. I mean, whatever. I'd love for them to get one. I mean, I know I try to speak for the broader Hawks fans view. Like, we love to get one. This is a great draft class. Like, AJ being the one that I think is a consensus at the one. Maybe Boozer's the one. I don't know. I haven't watched film on any of these guys, so I'm like, you know, but but no one can control it. So don't get all wrapped around the axle around what's
I
going to happen.
mean, there's a floor to the pick. If the Pelicans keep winning, that floor is going to keep going. Like, are they going to pass Dallas? Are they going to pass? I don't know. Yeah, are they going to pass Chicago? Like, if they, how do they look, Tyler? You've watched some of these games, have you? Like, is DeJounte, Sadiq, like all these ex-Hawks are
I
balling
mean,
out right now.
if Derek Queen's going to keep playing, they're going to lose some more games here. So that's really all that matters. Uh, I don't know. They're good. I mean,
They're pretty good,
they're
right? I've watched some of their games.
they're a solid team, but like I'm not concerned about the Pelicans winning too much. They're pretty much stuck where they're at. Maybe some other team passes them up, but I think the Bucks are going to start losing some games here. Like there's going to be a come to Jesus moment with a lot of with everybody because like I mean they basically lost what 4 games what
I think 5 now.
yeah nope 4 games in a row and all by I feel like they've all been by double digits comfortably and
Okay.
like 2 with Giannis so it's like all right you had a fluke February but I think reality's hit them so they're probably going to start losing some games here and shutting some people down because like they're not catching the Hawks. Like it's just not happening. Like too many too many bankable wins for the Hawks right now against taking teams compared to the Bucks. And so like I I do think this was the game they needed to win. The Hawks won this game. So that's why I'm like, all right, the floor of the pick is probably not going to be as bad as people realize. But the Pelicans, they have too many losses already. Like even though they're better, you know, they're still like they're not gonna finish on like a 15 game winning streak or anything like that. So that's why I wouldn't be too concerned with how high they get up here. They're not gonna finish with they're probably not gonna finish within the top 5, but 6 or 7 is probably where they're gonna be at. So it's not gonna be too bad. But it's like Glenn said, like the lottery is the lottery. We'll figure out where they're at when that happens, and we can go from there. But I'm it, for the upside for like Pelicans fans, like there is a good team here. Like there is a good basketball team. I think they found something with a couple of these guys, but I do think they need to be smart. Because I just don't see it with Derek Queen or though Fears is playing better, but he's just so small. And like I think they found a winning formula going with basically Herb Jones being their point guard nominally. So like I think they've or I mean really with DeJounte now back, DeJounte being the nominal point guard. But like I think they don't need these 2 rookies and they're still a young team. So like going forward, it shouldn't be as bad as it was this year if they're healthy. That's the bigger issues are always hurt though.
Yeah, I just feel like that Dallas is pretty grim at this point. Memphis is grim. Like I think
Memphis is fine. Like that
I think the
they have
Pelicans are going to get to 8 though.
year
See, we'll see.
yeah, I don't that's not happening.
But I think you're right about the Bucks. Like there's no way they're catching the Hornets or the Hawks. It's just not going to happen. All right. Well, thank you for doing this very late at night or early in the morning, depending on how you look at it. And I guess we say good night, Bob. Good morning, Bob. Whatever applies here.
Good night, Bob.
Do it, Rob.